Thank you very much, Darren. You are enormously generous. Alan and Jan, I really appreciate all you do to keep the CBN going and the community that helps you as well. Can I acknowledge Mariska and Angie from my church, and also colleagues in public service in my good friends Henry Pike. I think Mark Robinson is here or almost here. And yeah, he'll be here soon, I'm sure. And of course, councillors Wendy Boblari and Jason Crowley. So pleased to see all the good things you're doing. But really everybody in the room is serving our community in wonderful ways and in ways for which I'm incredibly grateful. It is a wonderful honour to have the opportunity to share with you today. I don't know if you know anything about me. I'm the LNP's candidate for our local area, although I don't plan to give you a political speech today, you might be relieved. You might know a few things about me from my time in the Australian Senate, where I was Assistant Minister looking after the Attorney General's portfolio, industrial relations and women. Or maybe you caught an episode or two of my show on Sky News Australia. Even if you haven't, that's okay. But my job today is to tell you something, not about politics, but about what some of those experiences have done for my journey in faith. So, I was raised by a family that you probably call culturally Christian, but the way that we lived didn't really put Christ at the centre of all we did. I was really introduced to God's love and his salvation by two of my friends during high school. One of them was a minister's daughter, the other one attended a Lutheran church with some passion. And I was one of those really A-type nerdy kids. So I know that's a real shock to you, but there you are. But there really was something incredible about the unconditional nature of God's love. I didn't have to win every gymnastics comp or get every scholarship or top every test in order to be valued by him. And so, fast forward a bit, when my husband and I had met and we were preparing for marriage, we decided that our life together was going to be built on him. So here we were, married, we had 3 young girls, we were going to our local Anglican church, and we had been for a long time passionate believers in the way that conservative political ideas make people more prosperous, make families stronger, help civil society flourish, and best preserves the freedom of the individual. But this was around about 2018, and politics wasn't in a very good place. So when a vacancy in the Senate arose, I hit the phones really hard. I'm ringing, Rachel, this Senate vacancy, you really need to do it. We need someone with your clear thinking and your determination to give this team, a good kick along. Or I rang Dan, I rang Jess, I went through my list of all these high potential people I thought could do a great job. For one reason or another, they kept knocking me back. And one night, my husband says to me, babe, I think you should do this. Our 3rd child was 3 months old. I'd barely recovered from her arrival, and I'm not going to lie, it seemed completely insane. But we prayed about it, and before I knew it, I was driving around the state persuading people in every little town from the Cape to the border to give little old me a go. I was confident in what I stood for, and I thought I could contribute meaningfully across a range of policy areas, from the economy to productivity, from education to domestic security. I'd been a barrister in the private bar here in Brisbane, and I loved helping people solve their problems, finding ways through the pickles they couldn't quite navigate themselves. I felt called to serve in Parliament, but I hope you won't be offended if I confess that I never set out to be known as the Christian lady. It was really something that I'd always considered my private business. Now, I could blame the media and say, well, they're always looking for a way to put you in a box. And that's true, of course, but it was actually more than that. Shortly after my endorsement, the Queensland Parliament put abortion to birth laws on the table and ultimately passed them. It was my belief that it was abhorrent to allow otherwise healthy children, capable of life outside the womb, to have their lives ended even in circumstances where there was no physical health risk to the mother. There was also a push from Labor and the Greens to remove prayer from the procedure of Parliament. And following changes to the law of marriage to open it to same-sex couples, there were more and more social clashes between the rights of those who wanted to live and express beliefs that had been uncontroversial for over 2,000 years and those who had a different and more fashionable view. It culminated in Archbishop Julian Porteous of Tasmania being hauled before a discrimination tribunal for expressing the orthodox Catholic view of marriage. But that wasn't the only example. Couples offering to become foster parents were knocked back because their Christian faith led to an assumption that that would make them bigots. Faith-based schools were finding it hard to manage students and families who sought not to adhere to the ethos of the school's faith or become a part of that school's culture, but rather force it to change. And I was brand new in the role, and these three things came in quick succession. And it seemed to me that God was asking me to make a choice about how much I was prepared to be and be known to be His. Once I got the message, the decision actually became a pretty easy one. After all, what's the point in being there if you're not going to do what you deeply believe is right? For me, it was essential to keep the space for people to speak and act and think freely so that they can, in their own time, take their own spiritual journey, or not, if that's where they land. It's about keeping us a society where we can agree to disagree, where healthy debate can occur, because that's how, now and into the future, we will go about solving our problems as a society. But if I was going to be obedient to God, there was really only one path that I could take. But I also knew from Proverbs 3, from verses 5 to 6 and other places, that He would carry me through whatever challenges would arise as a result. You know, we're instructed to trust the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all our ways, submit to Him and He will make our paths straight. So I took a stand on these things. And I did my best to find constructive solutions for what are genuinely really difficult social issues. But ultimately, when the task is one of service, one that I loved and felt was a great privilege, you can really only do it properly if you start from a place of truth. So I ended up being the person who built the internal support for the recognition and protection of religious liberty within my party to the highest it had been in a long time. We came within a whisper of getting a meaningful bill to do that important job of protecting religious liberty over the line. The details behind that are a story of their own. But it really was the greatest honour to be able to help people to navigate their problems, to give them that sense of being heard, and to help them see a future that was going to be better for them in practical ways. There are people who will tell you it is tough to do politics as a Christian. On the one hand, yes, that's true. You do, in a sense, get criticism that others would not. But I wouldn't want to do any kind of public service without God. The more I leaned into my relationship with Him, the more I could withstand. And it really is true that nothing is impossible with God. He makes hard things easy. He helps you find courage when others might wilt. And He gives you the corrections you need from time to time to make sure that you don't lose your way. Since I left the Senate, He has given my family and I a much better life. One of really belonging to a close community that we love to serve, rather than being spread apart from one another and always on the road. in different parts of the country. He's given me a chance to use the gifts he's given me to serve others in a way that really does allow me to allocate my time in a way that better reflects my values. And he's built in me a faith that's stronger and more joyful than I could ever have imagined. I don't know where you are on your journey with God, but I want to encourage you. Being obedient is occasionally, maybe more than occasionally, hard, but it is always worth it. And sometimes it takes you places you never expected to go, but then again, his plans are always better, always more exciting and more worthwhile than anything we could come up with for ourselves. And so my encouragement to you is to surrender to his will, to trust him because he is so good to us. He'll meet you where you are and he'll help you with the rest. And it will be better than the best adventure you could imagine. Thank you very much.